What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Matt, and in this video we're going to be talking about why it's super important to keep up to date with your credit report amongst the rising level of debts that we're seeing in the country. And then we're also going to be looking at a report from RBC talking about with the interest rate cuts, what's on the future for Canada's housing market and what this means for home buyers and future sellers. So to start off, monitoring your credit report is super important, just generally because it affects many Canadians. We're seeing higher levels of debts across the country, right? It's more important than ever to keep a close eye on your financial status. One essential step you can take is by regularly checking your credit report, right? And you can do this a couple different ways. I would say most easily is you download the app Credit Karma or Borrowwell, or sometimes your banking app has a credit check monitor installed on it. So you can just use that as well. And when debt levels go up, so do interest rates. This means you'll end up paying more, typically the higher interest debts. Plus, high debt can lower your credit score, making it harder to secure a mortgage or get new credit when you need it the most. By checking your credit report regularly, you stay informed about the status of your financial health. You can identify errors, you can detect potential fraud early, and you can really understand how your debt is affecting your credit level and your credit score. A lot of people don't know, but these errors can happen and can just go for long periods of time. So by correcting these mistakes, you can improve your credit score, which could lead to lower interest rate on future loans, credit cards, stuff like that. And you can always contact a credit monitoring service to stay proactive by setting up alerts for significant changes in your credit report. This way you can monitor your credit a lot more effectively. And especially in this climate right now with just higher interest rates, it's more important than ever to monitor your credit report. So check out Credit Karma or borrow or use your banking app. I really like Credit Karma and Borrowwell, that's what I use, but I would say it's definitely important nowadays to do that. Now to dive into the next topic of the video, we're talking about RBC's latest update on Canada's housing market, right? So despite a recent interest rate cut by the Bank of Canada, RBC warns that the recovery will be gradual. So in June, obviously the Bank of Canada cut interest rates. We know this for the first time in 4 years, which provided a slight boost to the housing market, but still we're seeing a bit of a stagnant market. So home resales increased by 3.7% from May, but they are still 9% below pre-pandemic levels. So this modest increase in sales has been seen across most markets, with notable exceptions like places like Winnipeg, Trois-Rivières in Quebec, and St. John's. RBC's chief economist Craig Wright mentions that despite the positive response to the rate cut, the overall market sentiment remains cautious. Many buyers are still on the sidelines waiting for more favorable conditions or fearing potential economic downturns. One reason for this slight recovery is the rise in available properties. New listings have been increasing for the past 6 months, especially in places like Toronto, Vancouver, Fraser Valley. This increase in inventory has helped stabilize housing prices. The national aggregate MLS house price index has remained flat since spring, reaching 717,000 in June. However, the increase in listings is really a double-edged sword, right? While it offers more choices for buyers, it also indicates that sellers are motivated to offload properties, possibly due to economic uncertainties or the need to capitalize on current prices, or perhaps they are not able to hold on to certain properties. So price trends vary across the country, right? We have places like Calgary and Edmonton where prices are still growing due to limited inventory, high demand, maybe a little bit of a more favorable political climate compared to places like Toronto, Vancouver. And in contrast, prices in Ontario, British Columbia have been really stagnant. Now, RBC notes that Montreal and Ottawa are experiencing balanced markets with stable prices and steady demand. In contrast, places like Saskatoon, Regina are still struggling with an oversupply of homes, keeping prices low and sales a bit sluggish. Now let's change to a different area of the mortgage market and where the dynamics are there at play. So the mortgage market is also experiencing mixed signals right now. The rate cut has led to a slight increase in mortgage applications, but lending standards remain stringent. Many potential buyers, especially first-time buyers, are finding it difficult to qualify for loans due to obviously higher debt-to-income levels and ratios and stricter credit requirements from lenders. A lot of mortgage brokers are advising clients to really assess your financial situation and consider locking in rates now, as there's still a lot of uncertainty about future rate movements. Some people think if inflation remains high, further rate cuts might be limited, affecting long-term affordability. And again, the RBC economist predicts a slow housing market recovery for the rest of the year, for the rest of 2024, with potential acceleration next year if interest rates continue to drop, right? And that's if they continue to drop. However, there's a risk of renewed downward pressure on prices in Toronto if housing inventory keeps increasing significantly. We're seeing this in the condo market. So many condos, I believe in the GTA, there was over 9,000 active condo listings on the market. And that number will probably keep increasing, right? And I think the most density of that is coming from Toronto condos. Craig Wright from RBC suggests that a full recovery will depend on broader economic factors, right? Things like job growth, consumer confidence, global economic stability. He also emphasizes the importance of government policies, right? So we do talk about government policies a lot, and it does really affect the housing market in supporting housing affordability, market stability. I watched a video from Steve Saretsky yesterday, and Steve Saretsky is definitely one of my favorite channels. I recommend you subscribe to him on YouTube. He's a realtor out in Vancouver, and he's just very knowledgeable about the market out there, and also just the dynamics of everything happening in the market, from government policies to currency debasement, we talked about in a video I watched yesterday. And yeah, he brought up a really good point that the government has been trying so many different things to help make housing affordable, but in all reality, our currency has just lost so much value, right? Because what he says in the video is if you denominate the prices of Vancouver real estate in ounces of gold, it's actually gotten more affordable in gold terms, right? But in dollar terms, the affordability of housing in places like Vancouver, Toronto has just gotten ridiculous because our money has been losing value. It's been getting debased so much that it's just been hard for people to keep up, save money to get into their first property. Something that I did actually get into my first property was I didn't really save money in a savings account. What I did was I actually invested in other assets like stocks, and I used that money for the down payment. And I was able to grow that amount of money quicker by investing it rather than just letting it sit in a bank account, because the price of housing was increasing so much that I was like, I might as well invest this money and let the market and assets increase in value, and then take that and buy a house with it and use that as the down payment. It's really difficult nowadays to just save money and use that as a down payment. It's really unfortunate. I would love to see people be able to save money normally back in the old times where you could just put money in a bank account and really use that as a down payment. It's just the money that we're using, Canadian dollars, are losing value, and they've lost so much value, especially in the last 4 to 5 years ever since COVID. The amount of dollars that have been created in our system just went exponential. And then what happens is all asset classes exploded, and it's created just unbelievable prices across the board, especially in different assets like housing, like stocks, like commodities. All these different asset classes just exploded in value. And that's where inflation went rampant. So the future, we'll have to keep our eyes on. It really all depends. What could happen is money supply could change, where the government could actually remove dollars from the system, make it a little bit more affordable. But again, can they do that for a very long time? I don't think so, because the system we're in requires the creation of new credit and new debt consistently. We can't remove debt because our system relies so heavily on debt and credit. The way it works right now is new dollars get created in the form of what's called quantitative easing. New dollars effectively come into the market via bonds. And then what happens is more dollars get into the system. People use those dollars to buy things. Asset prices and prices in general rise. And so asset inflation has just been absolutely insane, which has just led to this situation we're in right now. Maybe I'll make a separate video, but that is my thoughts on everything in terms of the RBC's report, what they're saying about the rest of the year and how we got here. It's the importance of checking your credit report, especially as debt levels increase as we've been seeing over the last few years. I'd love to know what you guys think of this. And of course, please like and subscribe. If you guys like the video, it really helps me push this type of content to new people who might really enjoy this type of information. And of course, if you guys need any help with financing, buying, selling of real estate, I'd love to help you out. Until the next video, guys, take care.